Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Digging Deeper. Today, want to thank Red Cloud. We're in collaboration with Red Cloud Media and thank them for the great work they do with all of these mining companies so we can get the news out to you and introduce new companies to everyone. And today, we've got another great one. We've got Kevin Brewer, who's a P.Geo, so professional geo. He's the president, CEO, and director of CMC Metals. How are you doing today, Mr. Brewer? It's good to have you on the show.
Good morning, Andrew, and good morning to everyone else who's joined us.
Excellent, excellent. So, you're a BC story, northern BC, as well as stretching into the Yukon as well. Silver, lead, zinc, polymetallic type of play. Why don't you kind of run through a couple of the key factors leading up to now, and then what 2022 is going to look like?
Well, yes, we're in for a very exciting year in 2022 in this company. We've been exploring a silver district called Rancheria Silver, and it starts in northern BC and extends into Yukon, about 150 kilometers long by about 50 kilometers wide, full of very high-grade silver, lead, zinc occurrences. And these are what we call the buzzword these days is CRD, carbonate replacement style deposits. You got the vein systems, they intrude into the sediments and they replace the limestones and they create these large lateral bodies of mineralization. And these are very exciting targets. There is one mine in this belt. It's the Silvertip mine. It's owned by a company called Corp Mining. And it's one of the highest grade silver, lead, zinc underground mines in the world. So our targets are to find another Silvertip in the Rancheria Silver District.
How deep?
And we have three wonderful plays in that district.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I mean, you've got a couple here that on your projects. Silverheart is your flagship.
Yes, Silverheart. The story there goes back to 1985. There were high-grade silver veins found on surface there. And really, the focus of exploration on that project has been strictly on the veins. And they've been really missing the honeypot. We did an airborne geophysics survey in March of 2021 and found these large lateral conductors in several targets on the property. And now we feel that those veins that we've been drilling off, and we've had some amazing intersections. I mean, in 2019, we had 11.7 meters of almost 1,000 grams a ton silver, 9% zinc and 4% lead. Great intersection. We had some more great intersections in 2021 on those vein systems. So we could continue drilling those, but we feel the best thing to do is go after the CRD, after the carbonate replacement deposits. They're going to be much larger, higher tonnage. They tend to be very high grade. They're just like Silvertip, and we think that's the way to go.
So are these deposits generally are they low forming, like a kilometer down, or are they kind of higher, or does that play a role at all?
Oh, good question. These are actually quite shallow. We feel they're very close to surface.
Oh, wow.
And what we've done is we validated those targets with soil geochemistry and with prospecting. So in our soil geochemistry, we're seeing coincident silver, lead, zinc values with those targets. This indicating to us that those targets actually are the right sulfides. They actually are base metal and precious metals. And the other thing is, when we started putting the cat into those areas to start to put the drill roads in, we started uncovering mineralized outcrops. So we know we're in the right geology. We understand the geology. We got the right geochemistry. We got the right geophysics. Now we want to drill those targets off.
Now, let me ask you another G question instead of geology. The geography there. Now, I know this will surprise some. I mean, there's mountainy sides, but there's a lot of flat terrain in the Yukon.
Yes, well, we are up on the 5,000-foot level, but when you get up there, there is quite a lot of plateaus. And where we're going to be drilling is all literally rolling landscape. We're not drilling off on the side of cliffs or anything like that. We're drilling in a really easy area to drill. You know, we've got good access to water. We've got our drill roads in there already. We've got full access to the property, so we're not using helicopters, not going through all that expense.
Yes.
I do not buy properties that are not road accessible. I don't like wasting money on helicopters, and I don't like wasting shareholders' money on helicopters. So let's we keep our costs down. We can drill very effectively. We got easy places to drill, and we're fully permitted.
See, that's wonderful. And speaking about the roads, and maybe you can correct me, but a couple of years ago, I did an article, and it's about the Yukon, and it's about the federal and as well as the Yukon itself. They've pledged a couple $100 million towards roads and infrastructure.
Well, we're trying to access that money. It was for specific projects, and we're in discussions with Yukon on that to see if they can't broaden the horizon of that project, of that program money. But we have had some support from Yukon in other ways. And now I do want to talk a little bit about our BC projects as well. Yeah. They are not like, they're not quite as advanced as our flagship, but they are road accessible. And one project is 1 kilometer away from the Silvertip mill. It's called Silverknife. Nice. And the other project is 8 kilometers away. Both are road accessible. And they have been drilled before, and the geophysics again is pointing to expansions and being able to. There we go, a picture of Silverknife. You can see the rolling landscape there. We're actually standing at Amy, looking towards Silverknife, and so beautiful places to drill. Good results there. Again, very high grade material. There was average assays in the drill program at Silverknife, 511 grams a ton, some gold, 12.25% lead, 4.8% zinc. I mean, that is beautiful material. And Amy has similar. We recently announced, they got a historic resource there. But we went in, we looked at the trenches last summer, and we saw all this beautiful mineralization right at surface. They got 2 former adits there. We're going to go in there this year, reopen all those trenches, get both of these projects to drill ready stage. And then we want to bring in a joint venture partner to help us drill those projects off and advance them towards development in the short term.
Excellent. So this year moving forward, what are some of the key kind of things that we need to be kind of paying attention on? Are there assay results coming in? Is there any work being done in the meantime, kind of getting us into the next drill season?
This is typically the quiet time of the year. Most of us have announced most of it. We still have a few soil results coming out from Silverheart. Now, we did start some work on our Newfoundland projects. Yes. Yeah. And we acquired 3 projects in Newfoundland in the Gander zone, which is, where Newfound Gold is, where a whole bunch of other companies are. We have copper silver targets, and there's a bit of gold kicking around on our projects, but it hasn't been significant up to now. But these are projects right there with very high grades of gain copper and silver, lead, and other metals that they are early stage, but we are very excited about those, and they expand our exploration season. So we just did a soil survey in November on our project called Bridal Veil, very close to Gander. It borders the international airport. That's how close it is. The Trans-Canada Highway goes right through it. Nice. So I mean, it's very accessible. And then we're going to do a magnetic survey on those properties in the next month. So we're able to expand our exploration season by going to Newfoundland. And God love it, I'm back in my home province, so I love it. And we're going to do that work and advance those projects to see if they're worth drilling. And right now, the geology looks wonderful, the rocks look wonderful, it's mineralization on the surface. I've been there. I've been on every single one of my properties, and I just love what I'm seeing in Newfoundland.
That's great, and I love when because I always have I've got an affinity towards the Golden Triangle and Yukon and further up, but you do get into that seasonality play. So to be able to pick up some property in Newfoundland, oh my good Lord, last year was big. It was really big. Lots of news out of there. So to have some properties to advance is very exciting.
Well, we don't feel we're getting any valuation for that at all.
Yeah.
We never even got valuation for our last summer. I mean, before last summer, we had Red Cloud recommend us at 25 cents.
Yep.
Here we are. We're trading now in a 15, 17 cent range with expanded resources at Silverheart, a solid plan going forward with new targets, great projects in BC with Amy and Silverknife, and then our Newfoundland projects, which we've been acquiring at very reasonable cost, and the market is not giving us any valuation for it.
No, and you've got a very, very tight share structure too. I mean, you've fully diluted only 82 million out with all the work you've done.
102.
102. Okay, sorry, I'm looking at an old number.
But close. So, I mean,
but still, it's nothing. It's not a lot. It's not a lot.
So we are going to raise a bit of money between now and the end of February.
Yep.
For these projects. I call it my drill money for Amy, because I got enough money to do all the other things I want to do with Amy, Silverknife, and Newfoundland. And now I want to raise the money for the drilling. I'd love to do about 5,000 meters at Silverheart this summer.
Yep.
So I figure the costs used to be about $300 a meter. Now costs are gone up everywhere. So I'm figuring $350, $400 a meter. So depending on how much we can raise, divide it by 400, and you'll have an approximation of the amount of meters we're going to try to drill.
And also, you get a bit of a relief too. I mean, not only is it, when you're in the heart of the Golden Triangle, you've got the helicopters. The cost is it's high.
Yeah.
When you're in the Yukon, it's a different story. I mean, you've got lots of road access. You've got flat terrain. Your money goes a lot further. Plus, people think because it's further north that's more difficult. It's actually often a little bit easier.
Well, I will reiterate.
Yeah.
I do not buy projects that are not road accessible. And there's a reason for that, because as you say, if you are reliant on helicopters or difficult access, your costs are going to go up $600, $800 a meter. Even building the drill platforms on the side of a cliff is an expensive consideration. We don't have any of that at all. We go in there, we expand our roads, we're fully permitted, and we can easily drill. So we just haul the drill around with the cat and move it around, put the pad there, and away we go. It's beautiful. So we're very excited about the potential. These are some of the highest grade CRD targets in the world, and I'm not kidding you. It's all very comparable to the Coeur d'Alene silver belt in Idaho, which was the third most prolific silver belt in the world. We're the same age, we're the same geology, the same style of mineralization, and yet very underexplored. So we're super excited about going back into Silverheart and taking a really good kick for the first time at these other projects, which we feel will generate a lot of value for this company.
It's very cool when you think of like Coeur d'Alene. I'm in Vancouver, it's just south of me, and it runs all the way up to the Yukon. For a lot of people who don't understand, they think, "Oh my God, that's a huge system." But I was speaking to another company the other day, and they're talking about shifts in the earth like 2 billion years ago. That gives a context of what we're talking about. We're talking about mining. Isn't like, oh, it was a long time ago, 100 years ago. It's billions of years of formation and shifting, and that's why we can see this belt running from Coeur d'Alene all the way up to the Yukon.
Yeah, and then when we're talking distances, people say, "Well, you must be nuts, Kevin. Here you are operating from Yukon to Newfoundland." I can leave a plane. I can leave St. John's, Newfoundland. I can be in Whitehorse that afternoon in Whitehorse, Yukon, and I can be on my site at 9 o'clock the next morning. I mean, what's the big deal? So today's world, we can operate in large distances, but I picked both of those areas because I knew them.
Yes.
I was a former director of the Yukon Mineral Development before I got into the private sector again, and I was in charge of the Yukon Geological Survey. In Newfoundland, I was there for most of my career, 25 years. So, I've got over 15 years under my belt in Yukon. I've got over 20 years in Newfoundland. I know these places, and I know how to operate within them. And so that's why we're there. And we've got great projects. And I hope people start to catch into this, that, we have some of the highest grade silver intersections drilled off in the entire silver exploration industry over the last 3 years at Silverheart.
That's an important thing to leave people with.
And
for sure.
I mean, we know we're chasing very good targets. I mean, our geophysics team are super excited about this. I mean, they're saying to me, these are no brainers. These are very viable targets, and they're excited about being involved in the project. So I mean, it's great to have your technical team really pumped about what you're going after, and that's the case with CMC.
Well, and I love it, and it's coming across very well. How excited to see your thesis coming together, and also like leaving it with those grades. I mean, hitting amazing grades. I mean, it's not reflected in the stock, although a lot of stocks are down right now. But everyone go take a peek at CMC Metals. Check out their website. Check out some of the results. Reach out to me as well. I'll connect you as well. But really appreciate this interesting development and silver story. And listen, I get it. It makes total sense to me to have Newfoundland and Yukon. And if anyone has any questions about that, come and ask me as well. But thank you so much, Kevin. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. It's been fun.
Excellent. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Today's company presentations are brought to you by Red Cloud Financial Services and the team at Red Cloud Vancouver. Red Cloud Financial Services is your preeminent source for mining industry opportunities. The team provides a unique tailored marketing program dedicated to reaching the right people from its mining-focused global network, giving clients access to industry-leading events and conferences, retail and institutional marketing, plus an in-house growth-driven digital agency. Red Cloud Financial Services has access to some of the mining industry's most notable companies and CEOs. Tune in every Thursday at 4:15 p.m. Eastern, 1:15 p.m. Pacific for weekly corporate presentations. For more information, visit redcloudfs.com.
And we're back, and we're going to head south. We're going to head a little bit warmer. We're going to be speaking with Matthew Lennox-King, who's the president, CEO, and director over at Contact Gold. And we're going to be talking about Nevada, and we're looking forward to hearing about what's happening down in Nevada. It's such an incredible jurisdiction as far as mining and infrastructure and whatnot. But I don't want to tell your story. It's great to meet you.
Likewise. Thanks for having us. Really excited to be here. And Nevada is a wonderful place to work. Slightly warmer than where we're at right now, but not that much. You'd be surprised.
No, but I mean, we can save a lot of time. I mean, Nevada, we could go on about how incredible Nevada is for working, and it goes without saying. I've written about it a ton. We've talked about it in lots of different companies. So it's the place to be poking around. And one of the first questions I kind of asked you was before we got into it was, okay, so what makes you stand out? We've got lots of companies that they're poking around.
Absolutely, and so we think in Nevada, it's obviously a great place to work. It's a competitive place to work as well, whether you're a big cap or a small cap like Contact. I think really the key differentiator for what we're doing there is we've got two key projects. We've got Pony Creek and Green Springs. Not only are they strategically located in that they're in Nevada, but also if you look at the immediate district around them, they're both very strategically located. So Pony Creek is immediately south and ties on to Gold Standard Ventures and their South Railroad project. Gold Standard, or GSV, is permitting what will be Nevada's next open pit gold mine. So they're roughly 12 months out from having that permit in hand and building that mine. Pony Creek's right there with a brand new resource estimate of over 430,000 ounces, pit constrained ounces of gold with a lot of growth potential in the near term. We've also got Green Springs, also strategic address. So Green Springs is less than 10 kilometers due east of what once was Fiore Gold and is now owned by Calibre Mining. So that's the Pan Mine and the Gold Rock project. These are all pretty classic Nevada gold systems. So shallow, oxidized, easy to process. And at Green Springs last year alone, we made 3 brand new gold discoveries. 2 of them I think are exceptionally exciting. They're at surface, they're oxidized. We're looking at thicknesses up to 50 meters, grades locally in excess of 2 grams, with a lot of room to grow. So not only do we have the the results and the geology backing us up. But we've also got the address being in pretty competitive, pretty active parts of the state.
And I like the way you've put the strategic in two different ways, because yes, obviously Nevada, I mean, it's very strategic to be working there, but being so close to companies that might want to add ounces. And sometimes if someone sees, I see there was a maiden resource on one of the properties of 433,000 ounces. If you're, and I'm not saying that this is specifically that project, but if you've got something close to another project and you've got some a resource there and you've got some numbers, it becomes very attractive. And also maybe because so many people are generalists that will watch on my side of the show, is maybe explain why the shallow and the oxidized is so much more attractive as far as economic resource than others.
Sure, absolutely. So what's kind of, I'll say, unique about Nevada is a lot of the gold deposits that people are looking for, discover, and ultimately end up mining are they're at surface or close to the surface. So you can mine those theoretically through what we call open pit methods. So essentially, it's like a gravel quarry in many ways. And then the processing for these, because they're what we call oxidized, so your rocks are naturally rusted, so the gold is a lot easier to liberate. And just to contrast, and typically costs to produce an ounce of gold in Nevada are quite low. On an all-in basis, they tend to be around $1,000 an ounce US. Current gold price is around $1,850, so very high margins typically within the state. And then if you contrast that to your more typical Northern Canadian examples, where you can have exceptionally high grades of gold, an order of magnitude greater than what you would typically see in Nevada, but you tend to be a lot deeper. So you need to build a shaft, you need to have underground mining infrastructure, which of course adds to your capital cost and your operating cost. And then the processing can also be more complex. So these Nevada gold deposits are often very efficient to mine and ultimately recover gold.
And that speed and quickness also is probably the turnaround. I know the average turnaround on a mine is very long, but I think with modern technology and with a lot more application and certainly a lot more interest, people can turn that around a lot faster nowadays.
I think that's right. I mean, an open pit heap leach gold mine is not a particularly complex operation. In many ways, it comes down to how efficiently the mining company can move their rock from point A to point B.
So give me a little recap of 2021, like some of the highlights, and then just what we should be expecting, what we're hoping about 2022, so people can kind of get a bit of a playbook to kind of.
Of course. Yeah, you bet. Well, so we'll start off with Green Springs. So we were actively drilling at Green Springs in the first half of 2021. We drilled just over 7,500 meters, 59 drill holes. It was, by any metric, a really successful program. So that resulted in 3 brand new gold discoveries. We'll call those the Mine Trend, X-Ray, and Tango. They each have the potential to keep growing. And at Green Springs, to continue on that theme, we are queued up to start drilling in early March. We will be going directly back to Tango and X-Ray. So, and the goal there is to start to add scale to these discoveries. So we're talking about, roughly a gram over 30 meters if we ballpark it.
Yeah.
So really right in the sweet spot and arguably quite high grade for Nevada.
Yes.
And then just to systematically step out with nice shallow drill holes. Average depth will be somewhere on the order of 100 to 125 meters.
Okay.
And really roll on from there, continuing to expand, continuing to grow the footprint. At Pony Creek, we weren't actively drilling in 2021, but what we did do was go through the resource estimation process at year end. And that's what resulted in the maiden resource estimate for Pony Creek. Okay. So that's where we're, I guess, arguably touching up on 500,000 ounces of gold.
Yep.
We view that very much as a snapshot in time, and it's shown us exactly where we grow from here. And so the goal there, drill season at Pony Creek is typically late May through year end. So once the snow melts out and access improves, we'll get there. We'll prep the drill sites, and realistically, that'll be a second half of the year exercise. But really focus on growing the deposits at Pony Creek and starting to nudge that resource number up closer to 1 million ounces than 500,000 ounces.
Excellent. So this year, I mean, what are you fully funded for the year moving forward?
We're certainly funded for the Green Springs drilling.
Green Spring, yes.
Yep. Yeah, and we certainly, we have just under 3 million Canadian in the treasury right now.
Yep.
We're fortunate to do a $3 million private placement in the fourth quarter of last year. Both new shareholders, but also some of our longer term shareholders as well participated in that, and that set us up very well for the next phase of work.
Now, maybe walk me through some of the team as well that you've got here, because obviously you've got a great team. And I never want to miss people, but and we can't go through everybody, but it is important because we always kind of say you want to be the right jurisdiction, looking for the right metals, but you need to have the right team as well.
Sure thing. Yeah. And thanks for that. We have a team with a really long and successful track record in Nevada. Many of us started working together back in the period 2005 to 2011 with Frontier Gold in Nevada. So if you recall, Frontier was acquired by Newmont back in 2011 for $2.3 billion in the previous height of the cycle. And so the key individuals here, really John Dorward, our chairman. John and I have worked together for a long time. Most recently, he was CEO at Roxgold, which was acquired by Fortuna Silver Mines in mid-2021 in quite an attractive transaction. George Solomus is certainly well known in the Canadian capital markets. He's had a number of M&A or acquisition successes to his credit. Most recently was Integra Gold, which was acquired by Eldorado for roughly $600 million, coming up on 6 years ago. And then on the management team, I'd really like to draw attention to our Vice President Exploration, Vance Spalding. So again, Frontier Gold alumni. He's got a pretty diverse background. So he's worked for majors like Kinross, where he was at their Bald Mountain mining complex, but he's also worked in Central Asia with Centerra. He's worked in Turkey with me and some other companies, and has a really good track record of discoveries, both in Nevada and elsewhere. And he's really the key guy on the ground in Nevada. And then myself, geologist by background, former Frontier Gold, former Pilot Gold, really worked globally as well. Always remiss to toot my own horn, but number of discoveries both in the gold space and the uranium space. And most of the last 11 years now has been on the corporate side, either in a corporate development role or in a president and CEO role.
So what do you think is going to move? I mean, you talked a little bit about the last cycle, and it's funny, on our show on Friday, we mentioned how Goldman Sachs came out and said this next global commodity super cycle could be 10 years. Now, obviously, we're biased, and we're going to say, yes, yes, it's going to be 10 years.
Yeah.
But what do you think? I mean, we probably heard that for a year or two, and fundamentally, it makes sense. What do you think it's going to take to kick this off, for people to kind of realize, never take away the precious metals and the fiat conversation, but all the battery electric kind of story, the electrification of the future, green, clean, all of that comes from mining. So what do you think it's going to take?
And always that's the crux of it, right? That's always the interesting question. I think certainly the battery space and the wide-scale electrification, I think that's going to play a large role in it. Copper is really strong. Copper companies are trading at really healthy valuations. I think that will help pull people into the space. I think we see the same in lithium as well, with lithium companies. On the gold side of things, I think one of the main catalysts can be M&A or acquisitions. 2021 was a pretty active year. If we look at Nevada alone, we had Calibre Mining acquire Fiore. Anglo bought Corvus Gold for roughly 500 million Canadian. I-80 Gold is a new spin out who's been very aggressively acquiring assets. Outside of Nevada, we saw certainly Pretium here in BC and Newcrest. We saw Roxgold, Fortuna. So I think we're starting to see that flow. And I think that M&A draws attention to the space, and I think it also can draw investors as well when they see development stage companies or junior producers being acquired for pretty healthy premiums.
I think it's safe to say, and I try never to predict the future as far as pricing, but gold's going to stay pretty attractive for the near, short, longer term here. I can't see through all this chaos, through all the political divisiveness and everything else going on. It's a safe place to be, and that's a great place to be, not only for obviously for producers, but even for explorers. But you're not getting the valuation of that right now.
Correct.
Which makes M&A very attractive for the big boys to
Exactly.
try and scoop you up. But the more we can bring attention to people, say, listen, there's a company here that's near to strategic resources that may want to add ounces. All of a sudden, you can change your model to look at someone like you rather than a blue sky kind of story way up in the middle of the mountains that might cost $3 million in helicopter rides to do.
I think that's a good point. I think proximity to other assets always gives you a bit of an advantage or another avenue to create value. I think being road accessible, much like your previous guest was very keen to reinforce, we're road accessible as well. So you're not dealing with big logistical challenges, and I think that can be an attractive thing.
And of course, the speed. I mean, Nevada, they'll work with you. They'll get things done. And there's nothing that stops a project faster than hearing, "Oh, we just have to review some permitting issues."
Yeah.
It's like whoa. So I mean, Nevada. Anything can happen, but it's extremely mining friendly, and that goes a long way. And it's a great place. That's been developing quite a bit, especially in the last couple of years.
Okay.
So maybe just leave us with one or two last things, just kind of highlight Contact Gold. What if someone wants to look at it today? They go, okay, I like what you guys are up to. What should they be looking forward to here? Like, what should they be paying attention to? And is there urgency to say, I should start building a position today?
Well, the CEO in me says, of course.
Yeah.
But look, we'll be back out on the ground at Green Springs drilling within the month, or just over a month from now, following up on those high-grade oxide discoveries that we made last year. Really looking to continuing to build momentum at the project with, I think, results that really stack up anywhere you're looking at open pit opportunities. We are looking to get back to Pony Creek, we'll call it mid-year, to aggressively follow up on that resource estimate. Really start to, we'll call it, build out our balance sheet of ounces as we continue on. And then I think also just keeping an eye on the Nevada M&A space as well. I mean, that's not something that we control, but obviously more deals bring more eyes and ultimately bring more momentum to the operators in the state.
And I mentioned it too as well, just because we're not meeting at VRIC in person, because right now is the season for the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference. For those of you who don't know, great big conference. But at that, it really kicks off the season of a lot of M&A, a lot of companies meeting and sitting up, and they're not even going to the show. They're up in hotel rooms talking about JVs and ideas. And I suggested, I doubt that's not happened just because we're not having the show. I'm sure it's still happening on Zoom. It's phone calls behind the scenes, even though it might look quiet and we're not all traveling to go to a conference. I'm sure those phones are ringing and the work and the discussions and all of that is probably the same, if not more.
I think so. I think it's a really important part of the business. It's certainly something that we focus on. There are many avenues to create value for your shareholders that aren't just drilling and assays and news releases. So I think it's something that we certainly focus on, whether it's anything, a joint venture, a merger, a sale, an acquisition. I know those are all things that are very interesting to us. And I think a lot of other companies take that same view as well.
Excellent. Well, I really thank you for spending the time with us and letting us know about Contact Gold. I appreciate it very much. Check out the website. Thanks so much, Matthew. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.
You as well. Thanks, Andrew. All the best.